I'm delighted to be joined here by Nathan Marke, who is the COO of Giacom. Welcome, Nathan.
Yeah, thank you very much, Doug. Great to be with you. Just a bit of a correction for you, hot off the press. A very, boring and self-centered scoop for IT Channel Oxygen, but I'm changing my role on the 1st of April at Giacom from Chief Operating Officer to Chief Strategy Officer. We've got an amazing lady called Gillian Bailey coming in as our Group Operations Director to take over operations. And I'm going to be focusing much more on the strategy and the brand and the future build of Giacom and our M&A and that sort of stuff moving forward. So just to let you know, it's CSO now, not COO. Not that anybody really cares, but so
Fantastic.
you know.
Well,
Yeah.
by the time this comes out, that April the 1st will be tomorrow. So we're here to talk about the Fast Growth 50 report, which
Yes.
Giacom has supported for a second year. So let's start with that. So why has Giacom kind of thrown its weight behind a project like this? We did Oxygen 250 in January, which is focused on the big partners, your Softcats and your computer centers. This shines a light on some of the faster growing companies, channel partners that sit below the Oxygen 250. So why is Giacom supporting this?
Look, Doug, I just think they're an incredibly important community that are often overlooked. I mean, the stats on this vary, but, if we said that there was something like 15,000 MSPs and resellers out there in the UK, nearly all of those companies are quite small. There's a huge community of micro SMBs and smaller SMBs, and actually very few of them grow up into the 10, 20, 30 million bracket, and even fewer of them get up to the sort of, astronomical heights of the Softcats and the computer centers of this world. But they are really, really important in the value chain. And just to give you a bit of a context about why I think that is, I mean, we have to get quite big and quite national about this, I think. If you look at SMBs as a whole, they are the lifeblood of the UK economy. They contribute almost a half of the GDP of the UK, and they employ more than half of the people in the UK. They're incredibly important, but SMBs are really struggling at the moment. I don't know if you saw this morning, there's a lot of sort of early forecasting about what the Chancellor's spring statement is going to say, and things aren't looking great. There's going to be a lot more cost cutting coming in. I think the overall growth for the UK economy was forecast to be 2%, but the Bank of England, I think, is downgrading it to 1% this year. While few would argue that we need to invest in our public services, some of the things that are happening here are really, really affecting small businesses. And in turn, that will be affecting the growth of the UK. So, the national insurance hike for employers, the raise in national living wage, the rates rise, all of that sort of stuff is really hitting the SMBs that the MSP community serve. And, SMB confidence from all the surveys and the research we've seen is at a record low. CIP's just done a survey, and it's saying SMB confidence is at the lowest outside the pandemic since 2014 when their records began, which is pretty tough. And we're all going to feel that, right? And when you've been talking to any of the larger MSPs out there, Doug, a lot of them have been reporting challenging 2024s, hoping 25 is going to get better and still finding it really tricky, slow decision making, a lot of cost optimization going on in customers and that sort of stuff. And that's all a reflection of what's happening here. But the reason I give you that context is because, technology remains one of the best levers of growth that we have in the UK to drive the UK economy. And if we look at SMBs, still, unfortunately, the vast majority of SMBs have a very poor experience with their technology. And, the reason why MSPs are outgrowing resellers, the reason they're outgrowing the telcos, the reason they're outgrowing the technology vendors directly is because they are the only people that can fix this problem for a small business. If a small business wants to get their technology working properly, they need to engage an MSP. They need to engage a strategic partner to help them make their technology work, make sure it's secure, and then deliver them innovation. And of course, the Softcats and CTs and the big guys of this world cover a larger part of the market. But the SMB community needs those micro MSPs. It's so important. It's the engine room that fundamentally underpins, I think, the productivity of the UK and success of the nation as a whole. So that's why we're behind the Fast 50. Not because it's the most accurate list in the world, and not because there are any particular companies in there where we think, oh my goodness me, they're doing something incredible with innovation, although they're all doing really interesting things. It's more that we need to really put a spotlight on that community because they are the engine room and the entrepreneurial room that's going to create this success and help SMBs to get on with technology. So look, that's why we're behind it. We think there will be some future CCs and some future Softcats in there, but we're much more focused on that shorter term goal of how do we get SMBs using technology better. Only answer, small MSPs.
Yeah, definitely. And having had a quick glance at the report, so I'm not suggesting that Giacom, it's an editorial report, right? So Giacom's fingerprints are not on this, but you know, you've as the supporter of this, you've had a quick glance at the report. So did anything leap out?
Oh, the thing that really leaps out for me, I mean, I've been involved with startups and small businesses in the past and growing them. And reading the report and reading some of the stuff that some of the interviews that you've done, just it really tickles me. It delights me because I remember what it's like. I remember the energy and the enthusiasm and the excitement and the fact that there are infinite possibilities when you're running a business like that. There are so many opportunities. Where do we go? How do we get growth? All those sorts of things. I just think it's a great reflection of that incredible energy. That's what I get. What really enthuses me about it. Takes me back to a very happy place.
Yeah, no, definitely. And so what's Giacom got planned for the rest of 2025, particularly when it comes to your partners?
Yeah, well, we've got a busy year as usual. We're hoping to break through the 500 million revenue barrier, which is fantastic, and maintain decent profitability with that against the backdrop of a pretty tough market. But if we think about our value proposition, I suppose firstly, if you focus in on those wonderful micro and smaller MSPs that we're talking about in the Fast 50, our platform proposition and the proposition with our people and all their skills is really about trying to level the playing field for those smaller MSPs, giving them a really, really simple platform experience where they can come to buy a range of products and services, at really good price, at really good value, so they can build incredible solutions for their customers and just making it really simple. So that kind of leveling the playing field for the smaller MSPs, I think, is incredibly important. It's essential through the platform to really get them going and to boost their growth. But the other big theme that we are focusing on this year is this thing about how growth is great. But one of the big problems that our whole community has is profitability. And this is becoming a bigger and bigger issue, I think, across the market. I was at a really interesting event last week, sponsored by IT Nation, and they showed some really, really interesting statistics. One of the ones that was eye-boggling was they said that a third of European MSPs are unprofitable. A third. Now, that's extraordinary. Why do you get out of bed in the morning? Why do you run a business if you're not going to make any money? Right? It's hard. And you can see how this happens. You start a great business like these wonderful Fast 50 businesses, and you start to build it, and you have a customer, and then two customers, and then five customers, and then 10 customers. But as you build that, as you build your business, things become complicated very quickly, and that's always the problem that businesses have with scaling. And I think there are some incredible learnings and some credible opportunities, particularly with technology and automation and AI, that really give smaller MSPs a leg up and a chance to build scale and do it profitably in a way that they've never been able to do before. So that's a very, very big focus for us. Key things I'd sort of point out from there that we see as kind of best practice for smaller MSPs is firstly, think about the value proposition that you're taking out. So often MSPs have a value proposition that's basically, I'll do what you want, Mr. Customer. Whereas actually, the MSPs that are growing really fast aren't doing that. What they're doing is they're being very firm about their value proposition. They're going into their customers and saying, this is my value proposition, and it will help you. So it's a very different way of describing that prop. And in that prop, it's really simple. So we're seeing the smarter MSPs really consolidate down their vendors. You don't need 5 email backup solutions. You only need one. Yeah, you don't need 5 of this. You only need one. So you really, really consolidate your vendors. You make a very simple value prop. You train your salespeople and your pre-sales people and your specialists out on that proposition. And you also build real commercial simplicity around it. Price per user per month. A really, really simple rate card for project work, really simple onboarding fees, that sort of stuff. Just kind of really help to drive the kind of operational simplicity at the commercial end of the business. But then the other big piece about this comes in with operational automation. So when you've built that simple proposition, then turning that into a run book so that you can automate it all the way through from your quotation system, through your order management system, into your billing system, into your care systems, through into your RMM systems and your operational support systems, and making sure that that simplicity is driven through an operational level. If you do those things, I'm making it sound really simple. Of course, it's not. It's complex, but it's doable. The key to MSP profitability is getting those things right. And we are really, really focused on that on Giacom. So really galvanizing our teams around helping our customers to build value propositions with simplicity so that they can win and grow, but then really helping them with our platform and with a set of software tools that we've been building out to help them to deliver those solutions really effectively, really cost effectively. So we call that proposition software tools. It sits in our cloud market proposition, and it's all about tools that MSPs can use in their own business to automate those processes and make it much more simple for them to deliver the promises that they're selling and keeping to their customers. So yeah, really, really exciting times. I mean, loads of other stuff we're doing, Doug. You know, we've got some amazing launches with incredible vendors, but our key focus is going to be on that. How can we help your business grow with a brilliant differentiated value proposition, and how can we really help to look at your back-end operation, and how can we really help you with automation so that you can deliver cost effectively and profitably. And you know what, Doug, if they do all of that, then those profitable businesses will be very valuable, and they could be the next Softcats and the next CCs because they survive, they thrive, they grow. That's going to be the key, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned your cloud marketplace. That's quite topical. So it's a topical question that I'm springing on you really here.
Yeah.
It's been dominating LinkedIn this week. So there's a big debate over the term distribution. There's a lot of distributors that are rebranding themselves more as platforms or marketplaces. And does it matter? Does it matter that we're calling them a distributor? Well, it does matter for some companies, clearly, given what's happened this week. What's Giacom's take on this?
Oh, look, we don't want to get too involved in it, Doug, to be honest with you. I mean, whether you approve of the sort of approach that Paxate have taken on that, and you could debate forever whether you're a distributor with a capital D or whether you distribute with a small d, couldn't you? Our focus isn't about platforms or distribution. Our focus is on our partners and on their end customers. What we need to focus on at Giacom is how can we really help our partners to grow. If we help our partners to grow through whatever execution that means is, through brilliant people, through great platforms, through automation, all the things that actually Paxate mentioned in that letter, but also that TD Synnex and Ingram are doing for their customers every day. If you do that and your value proposition works, then we in turn will grow and we'll deliver value for our customers. We'll deliver value for our people, who we want to have a long-term future at Giacom, and we'll also deliver value for our investors. So, we're not focused on that. We're focused on building a brilliant business with a sustainable, profitable value proposition for our partners, Doug. Sorry to skirt the question, but it's true. That's how we think about it.
Not at all. Well, thank you, Nathan. Thank you for joining us today, and I really appreciate your time. And thank you again for the work you've done with IT Channel Auction on Fast Growth 50.
Not at all, Doug, and big power to you for doing it. I think it's fantastic. So good on you for giving a bit of a shining a torch on such an important part of our community. Thank you very much.
Definitely. Thanks, Nathan.